Hello, and welcome to Networking with Michelle. You are tuned into the podcast dedicated to enhancing your professional development by nurturing relationships and navigating the professional maze. Michelle Ngome is the founder of Line 25 Consulting and author of the book Network, Navigate, and Nurture, The Equation to Strategic Networking. Here now is Michelle Ngome.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for tuning in to Networking with Michelle. I'm your host, Michelle Ngome. I am so grateful for the guest I have on today, Mr. George Fraser. He is a pioneer, a trailblazer, a power broker within the African American community when it comes to networking. He is known for the award-winning book, Success Guide Worldwide, The Networking Guide to Black Resources, as well as Success Runs in Our Race, Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community, and his latest book, Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. He's also the founder of the Power Networking Conference, which will be held in Dallas, June 24th through the 27th. And stay tuned as he has a special offer regarding his conference. Before we go into the interview, I just want to give you some hindsight. The reason why this interview means so much to me is because my mentor, Daryl James, our managing partner of James and Jordan LLC, an executive search firm. He read my book, Network, Navigate, and Nurture, when it came out September 2014. And we were having a meeting, lunch or whatever. And he asked me, have you heard of George Fraser? And I was like, no. And he was like, check him out. So I was like, okay, cool. I always do my homework. I did that. I was absolutely blown away. I was stuck on the YouTube videos. I was getting as much information as possible, reading articles. I ordered the book Click, went through that, and I went back and I was like, wow, this man is doing it. And this is what I want to do for networking. And I'm grateful because there's a generational gap, and I'm hoping that I can follow behind Mr. Fraser's footsteps when it comes to putting a new perspective on networking. So I went back to my mentor, Daryl, and I was like, hey, I've done my homework. I'm blown away. Created the podcast. I was like, do you have any contact information to him? He was like, no. Had to go back, do some more homework. I came across the information and I sent Mr. Fraser an email, and he responded, I want to say within the hour. He responded sooner than I expected. And from there, we just remained in contact. And here I am today with the interview. And this guy is the epitome. He's definitely the epitome of what networking and relationship and rapport is about. Very, very, very insightful. Speaking to him, I felt like in my purpose, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And his knowledge and insight and perspective just confirmed so much of what I have planned out and I'm hoping to do within the next couple of months, as well as a few years from now. So I know this is probably the longest introduction, but I want to let you know this interview means a lot to me by following the advice of my mentor, encouraging me to connect to my virtual mentor and making it a reality. So I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, and Mr. George Fraser.
Definitely want to thank you for allowing me to do the interview with Networking with Michelle, brand new podcast focusing on professional development, all about networking. Very, very fortunate to have a great mentor by the name of Daryl James, who he sees what I'm doing and he was like, you need to check out George Fraser. I said, okay, did my homework. And so I really appreciate you just being willing and available to not just respond to the email, but hopefully nurture this relationship as I'm trying to make my way to Dallas in a couple of weeks now.
Well, June 24th.
Absolutely.
Right.
So what was the defining moment with you that you realized networking was important in your career, and then the leading path to bring that into the African American community?
I learned the power and importance of the relationships in our lives. The short word for that is networking. Many, many, many years ago, I'm 70 years old. I learned this probably when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, doing things that were sort of outside of the box, being very entrepreneurial as a young man growing up on the streets of Brooklyn, New York, as a foster child. I aged out of foster home, spent 13 years in foster home. And I noticed with all the little businesses that I started and ultimately became very successful. That they were successful because I had what I didn't know at the time, or what was categorized as a very high emotional intelligence, very good interpersonal and people skills. And I could really get along and work with and through people. And I found out at a very early age, I didn't call it networking at the time, that if people liked me and I did things to serve people, that my business would explode, that my business would grow, that it would become viral just by word of mouth. People would say, you really ought to try using this little kid, George Fraser. He's very nice. He's very cooperative. He'll do anything you ask him to do. He'll do it with a smile. And I grew a very, very successful business as a young person just on my interpersonal and people skills. And that resonated with me at a very young age. And then I had the blessing of a father who was a cab driver for 40 years in New York City. And he made enormous tips. He got probably more tips. An average tip that he got was probably 30 to 40% higher than what his colleagues got driving the same cabs on the same streets of New York. And I asked him about that. And he said, it's because he holds a conversation with his, the people who get in his cab. He smiles, he tells jokes, he shows them New York. Even when he's driving them from point A to point B, he points out little destinations of interest. And at the end of the cab ride, he would get 30 or 40% more tip than anybody else in his business. So my father was a great influence, and then I applied that same attitude towards my little businesses and then used that attitude throughout every job that I had and every business that I had. It had been decided at 42 years old, because I observed this and because I was so successful in life, utilizing this skill, that I would dedicate my life to teaching other people how to network and the power and importance of networking, especially if you're in business, because I say all the time that business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business we're all really in case no one has ever told you, you are in the business of building relationships. That's what your life is going to be about. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, you go. And so what is my advice to those folks listening to us today? Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships, change your network, because your network will determine your net worth.
Wow. And how were you able to lead that into the African American community?
I'm African American, and I thought that the best way an African American can serve his people, his family, and his community and culture is to reach down and to lift up and to reach back and to pull forward and to teach that which you have learned. And so I started a business called Fraser Incorporated, which is now a global leadership network of 61,000 top Black professionals, business owners, and community leaders focused on economic development through education, training, and empowerment by using the fundamentals of networking, building relationships, loving ourselves so that we can love each other. And when we love each other, we will collaborate, we will work with and to each other, and we will maximize our full human potential by connecting the dots. That is what I'm preaching and teaching, and have built a very, very successful business. My business is now 28 years old, teaching our people through conferences, workshops, seminars, books, CDs, podcasts, you name it, social media, the art and science of effective networking.
Awesome. So I'm in the middle of your book, Click right now, and you have an equation, chemistry, fit, and timing. How were you able to come up with that? I guess those 3 standout characteristics.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And very few people have asked me that question. You've really done your homework, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
When you are interviewing someone, to just research them, see what they stand for, see what they write about, see what they speak about. And that way you come up with great questions like that. It's a great question. Because at the time I wrote Click, I was 60 years old, okay? and I had been preaching, teaching, evangelizing, and writing about networking for almost 20 years before I wrote Click. My first book on networking was Success Runs in Our Race, the complete guide to effective networking in the Black community, which I wrote 22 years ago.
Right.
So I had acquired a lot of experience, both good, bad, and ugly experience in terms of building networks, working with and through other people. And so I really wanted to write a book, the next book that I wrote on networking, which was entitled Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. I wanted to come up with a formula that was simple and that was outside of the box and that was fairly easy to remember. And because I had so much experience, thousands and thousands of hours of teaching and writing, thinking about building relationships and emotional intelligence versus IQ versus EQ, I said, let me get really creative with this, and came up with this thought. It was a simple thought. I wanted to write a book where people would click with more people that they network with. So you don't click with everybody that you network with, right? You click with some people, and some people, in spite of the fact that you've met them and you thought you've done the right thing, it just doesn't happen. And so if I could come up with a formula, a theory, an idea, based on years and years, decades of experience, it would help clarify the things that needed to be in alignment for you to click with one person over another person. And so based on my experience, I said, you click with someone when three things are in perfect alignment: chemistry, fit, and timing. When those three things are in perfect alignment, like the stars and the planet, that's when you click. You see, we could have good chemistry and good fit, but poor timing. Mm-hmm. We won't click. Mm-hmm. We could have good timing, good fit, poor chemistry. Yeah. We won't click. We could have good chemistry, good timing, but bad fit, and we won't click. So I tested this theory, and I talked to people, and I analyzed it, and it just seemed so solid and so simple to me. So after sort of writing it, I said, well, let me come up with an equation, a simple little equation like Einstein came up with E = mc squared, right? It's an equation that changed how people thought about the world. And so I went to a friend of mine who had a PhD in mathematics. This is the God's honest truth. And I said, this is my theory on connecting with people, really clicking with people. And I want to put it into some sort of mathematical formula, but I want to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm not a mathematical genius, but you are. This is what I said to my friend. So I asked my friend to help me. And so she looked at my theory, chemistry, fit, and timing. So she said, okay, here's how this can work. And she said, okay, chemistry is the first thing, right, Dr. Fraser? And I said, yes. And she says, okay, we'll represent that in the equation as C. C = chemistry. And then we'll square chemistry. Whenever you square something, C squared, you increase the power of that factor in the equation, right? Yeah. That's mathematics. Yeah. So she said, okay, C squared. And then we're going to use times instead of plus in the equation, because when you use a times figure instead of a plus figure, it means that all factors must be present in the equation to get the end result. So we use times. She said, the next factor is fit, right? I said, yes. She said, okay, that'll be F, right? And then the next factor is timing. So F times timing, T, right? And then we'll square root timing, because whenever you square root a factor in an equation, that reduces the value of that factor, right? And so it's C squared, chemistry, squared, very powerful, times F, fit, times the square root of T, which reduces the factor of timing, right, equals W3 to the third power. It's W3. That means, and I've revised the equation a little bit. So W3, what does W3 mean? Win, win, win. You win, I win, and the people that we both serve win. And there you have that equation. C squared times F times the square root of T equals W to the third power.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be a little selfish on this next question. It's something that I've been struggling with and just getting to it. But in your book, you have the chapter, it says, be open to everything and attached to nothing.
That's right.
And then right after that, there's a quote by Orrin Hudson that says, everyone can be someone if they simply make the right move. But my question is, as a professional, how can we distinguish between opportunities?
That's a deep question. Opportunity is best served warm. You know the old saying, revenge is best served cold.
Yeah.
Opportunity is best served warm. Now, what does that mean? It means that you will be able to identify significant opportunities that are just right for you, when in fact you know who you are, you know your purpose, you know the reason that God has put you here. You see, God has put each of us here with a unique purpose in mind. There's a job that He's assigned only you to do, and if you do not do it, it will not get done in the universe. So your first task in life is to find your purpose, right? So how do you begin the process of finding one's purpose? You simply ask your question, or yourself this question, or to observation, what gives me the greatest fulfillment, the greatest joy, and the greatest satisfaction, right? Once you ask yourself that question, you implant that question into your subconscious mind. And then your subconscious mind begins to search for the answer to that question. Another way to say it is the way Franz Fanon, the great philosopher, said it. Who am I? Why do I this? And am I all that I am capable of being? Okay? So once you get closer to understanding what makes you tick, understanding what presses your buttons, understanding what turns you on, understanding what gives you excitement, there will be unlimited opportunities presented before you. This is God, right? Mm-hmm. And the more and clearer you are about who you are, right, the more you will see in the myriad of opportunities that are out here. So often people do not recognize an opportunity because they don't know what they want. They don't know where they're going. They don't know really what they're looking for. Now, there's nothing wrong with experimentation. There's nothing wrong with doing various things so that you can find out what it is that you like, what it is that turns you on, what it is that gives you fulfillment, satisfaction, what it is that teaches you and helps you grow, what it is that helps you fail, because failure is okay, so long as you're learning. That's the most, because you're really not failing. You're either growing or you're learning. So opportunity becomes clearer, more exciting, and feasible when you have a greater and deeper understanding of who you are, how do you add value, what do you bring to the table of life, and you will not be able to get out of the way of opportunities. So let me say that real simple and real different. I say this all the time. Chase excellence, never chase money. Chase excellence, never chase money. When you become excellent at your God-given purpose, when you become amazing at whatever it is that you've chosen to do in life, which means you've got to figure it out, you've got to chart a course, you've got to stay that course, you've got to be persistent, that all that is due you will come to you, and you will become excellent to amazing at what you do. When you become that, you will not be able to get out of the way of money. In fact, money has a very interesting way of finding excellence. It's when you are average or mediocre, right, that you are now competing with most people in America, because most people in America are average to mediocre. So now you're competing with most of America. But if you are excellent or amazing, that's so rare in America that you'll be by yourself. You'll stand above the masses, and you will easily be identified. So that's when opportunity will grab you by the throat and present itself to you. And then you will make your own value judgment based on if this is something you feel that you like and will enjoy and can't wait to get up in the morning to do and hate going to sleep at night.
Okay. So I appreciate that, because I'm just now figuring out, I feel like In the past, I've taken a lot of chances, and now I'm looking for opportunity where it's more long-standing and what's going to lead to the next thing, right? The next mutually beneficial thing that's going to allow me to grow personally and professionally.
That's right. So taking chances is part of that, right? So when I graduated from a vocational high school in 1963, because nobody thought I was college material. So I have a high school diploma in woodworking, okay? But, my guidance counselor, Mr. Deeds, one never forgets certain people in their life, was trying to encourage me to drop out of high school because he just didn't think I was interested in being there. And I, rejected that idea, and I ultimately graduated from high school because I knew that I would need a high school diploma. And so the first job that I could get, I was in New York City. That's where I was born and raised, Brooklyn, New York. I was taking a job on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport, mopping floors.
Wow.
That's what I did. Right out of high school, I mopped floors, right? Now, at that moment in time, right, I remember now, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm excited about any job. I just want to work. I want to work and learn and meet people. That's really what my goal is, at 16, 17, 18, 19. You're just happy to work.
Right.
Right? So I was happy to work. So I had this job mopping floors in the airport, 12 to 8. And I took ownership of that job. In fact, I used to refer to the marble floors. Well, it wasn't really marble. It was terrazzo. That's what it was. The terrazzo floors at LaGuardia Airport. I used to go back into the locker room where all the maintenance men would go. And I would talk about my floors. I took ownership of the floors of LaGuardia Airport. And, I wanted them to be the cleanest and the best kept floors of any airport in America. I took pride in my work, and I took ownership. And I maxed out that job. In fact, I did that job so well, they wanted to promote me to sort of a senior mopper. Right? Because you get a more complicated kind of mopping responsibility, right? And I accepted that. It was, you had a title when you got a job. I was actually working for the Port Authority, and I was Building Maintenance 1. That was my job title, Building Maintenance 1. So this is just for the absolute beginners. But I did that job so well that within 6 months, they wanted to promote me to a Building Maintenance Man 2, which came with a raise, right? And more responsibility. And I accepted it, and I loved it, and I took ownership of it, and it was my attitude, right? It was my attitude. And I tell people all the time, your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and how you leave others feeling after having an experience with you becomes your trademark. I'm going to repeat that for your audience. Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and how you leave others feeling after you've had an experience or they've had an experience with you becomes your trademark, right? So all of my bosses throughout life have always liked me because I've always had a smile on my face. I always had a positive attitude. I always did the very best that one could do at that particular job. I don't care how menial it was. I took ownership of it. I thought entrepreneurially. I just pretended it was my airport. These are my floors. And these are my customers who are walking through this airport. And these floors represent me. Right? Now, that's an attitude.
Right.
And I had that attitude at 17, 18 years old, actually even earlier than that. And that attitude, that approach to people, that approach to interpersonal skills and serving people has ultimately allowed me to be inducted into the Minority Business Hall of Fame and Museum. We considered one of the top 50 power brokers in Black America. But it began with that attitude, the attitude that people matter, and that whatever you do, you have to do it working with and through other people. You'll have to do it in a collaborative kind of way, that you can't achieve any success on your own by yourself. In fact, that networking, defined by me, is the identification and the building of relationships for the purpose of sharing information, opportunities, and resources. And the emphasis on the definition is on sharing, right? And that's what, so it's really our approach to life. And now, this is very easy to say, and it's obviously difficult to do because most people need models for this. They need mentorship. They need someone in an early stage in their life who can correct and gently and constructively correct their behavior, right? So this is why mentorship is so important in the Black community, and we don't have enough mentors, quite frankly. We have more young people looking for mentorship and guidance from, in quote, successful brothers and sisters than we have successful brothers and sisters mentoring young people that need our help.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely big on serving and mentorship, which has only heightened once I got involved with the Houston Area Urban League, Young Professionals, as well as the Black MBA, and just being surrounded by like-minded people and great organizations, and to really see, you know, the community involvement is necessary. It's so important, and I'm just grateful that I got involved at an early enough age for that to carry me for the rest of my life, because I didn't grow up with that knowledge or with volunteering and servitude to be important. It's always been, you know, education and financial, you know, being successful in those realms.
Yeah. Well, you know, you had the courage to call me. Right? That took a lot of courage. Most people would be intimidated by my resume and my title and my, you know, I say this with humility, and, you know, my reputation, and they just wouldn't have the courage. You know, they would maybe try to do it through somebody who may help me. But no, you had the courage to make the call, and you got me, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to go through 6 secretaries, right?
Yeah.
And you asked me to serve you by doing a podcast with you, and I didn't blink an eye and didn't hesitate.
Yeah, I was delightfully shocked on, I guess, the quickness of your response via email, and then as well as the phone call, too.
Right. And that's what building relationships is about. It's one of the big mistakes that we make when networking. So many of our brothers and sisters, we do not follow up, you know?
Yeah.
So we have to fix that. That's once. And so, you know, help your young friends understand that. Okay?
Yeah, just a few more questions.
Okay.
So I think when it comes to networking, a lot of people feel like, you know, they go out, they meet, you know, people exchange cards and they have it. But what are maybe 2 to 3 tips you can give us on how we can, once we network, once we click, right, with this person, how can we lead into having strategic collaborations moving forward?
Number 1, follow up.
Okay.
99% of all people to get a business card will never, ever follow up. So follow up as soon as possible. Find something nice to say, follow up. But email is so easy to do. Most of us just don't do it. Number 2, return your phone calls within 24 hours. Try to do it within the hour if humanly possible.
Okay.
Return all phone calls. Show people respect. They call you, return their call. They email you, unless they're emailing you about something dumb, return their email. You know, you don't have to write a book. You don't have to write a paragraph, right? So follow up. That's one of the biggest mistakes that most people make when they think they're networking. Okay. The other mistake that people make is they have not thought about when they meet someone what they want to say, right? And so nobody is interested in your life story. Nobody has the time to hear that, right? So the purpose of a good, what I call soundbite, is to pique the other person's interest so that they will want to know more about you at a later time, right? So a good soundbite should be no more than 15 or 20 seconds, not 10 minutes, not 5 minutes, not even a minute, right? And it should have 5 components: who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then how do you add value, and then quantify value that you add. So I'm going to give you my 17-second soundbite.
Okay.
All right, the one that I use when I go out to conferences and meet new people. Sometimes, you know, I tweak it depending on where I am.
Right.
But here's my soundbite. Hi, I'm George Fraser from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO of Fraser Incorporated. I write books and speak on effective networking, economic development, and wealth creation. I help people turn acquaintances into friends, contacts into contracts. And over the last 30 years, I've helped over 5,000 people find just the right opportunity and over $500 million in new business. Good to meet you.
Wow.
That took 17 seconds, 71 words.
Mm.
I told you who I was, where I'm from, and what I do. Then I tell you how I added value. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. That's how I add value. And then I quantified it, right? I'm going to prove it to you. Over the last 30 years, I've helped over 5,000 people find just the right opportunity and over $500 million in new business. Now, if that doesn't pique your interest, you don't want to know more about me later, well, then I simply will bless you and release you, and vice versa.
Right. With your track record, I'm sure everyone has been interested.
Yeah. So that's what you have to do. So people make a mistake with that's with a poor first impression, and that is their introduction. And the other mistake so many people make is they go to business events with no business card. And I don't care, even if you're just a college student, you can have a business card with your name, your email address on it, your cell phone number on it. So you're a college student, you're in your third year, or what college you go to, right? Each having to write your information down, or someone should ask you for your information, and having to write it down on a piece of toilet paper. Now, I've gotten people's information on toilet paper.
Wow.
You know what I do with that?
What's that?
The same thing I do with toilet paper. So, carry a business card. Follow up. Think about what you want to say. Think about the 5 elements of a good soundbite. Okay. And that, if you do those 3 things, you'll be on the way to becoming a master networker. There's so many others, but we're just talking 2 or 3 now.
Right. Okay. So as stated earlier, the Power Networking Conference will be in Dallas June 24th through the 27th. Is there anything you want to mention about the conference as well as how people can get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So anybody listening to this podcast, of course, we have the Power Networking Conference, it's our 14th year. The title of the conference is Learn, Earn, and Return. 4 days of brilliant company. Okay, and we'll have speakers like Dr. Randall Pinkett, the winner of the Apprentice, Les Brown, Dr. Michael B. Roberts, Charles Ogletree from Harvard, who was Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's mentor, and many, many others. And they'll be there speaking and be able to meet them. And so it's a place that you can access powerful contacts. It's a place where you can, learn skills to build your business, to build your wealth, to build your career. You can come there and get free on-site coaching. We have over 50 extraordinary workshops. Each workshop is 2 hours long. We have a mastermind luncheon and super coaches. We've got a national town hall meeting with top leaders. We've got power plenary sessions with brilliant trainers. And there are all kinds of new startup business opportunities for everyone. And there is a place that you can network with the best and brightest brothers and sisters in America. So it's June 24th. That's the bonus day. The conference officially starts on June 25th, which is a Thursday. Okay. And if you're interested, those who like to take advantage of a special offer, I'm going to make a special offer for only those listening to this podcast. If you're smart enough to listen to this podcast, we're going to provide you a $1,700 conference package, a full conference package for a discount. You're going to get a full registration for you, full registration for a young person, 17 to 25 years old. You're going to get 2 bonus day passes, which is Wednesday. That's normally $199 for each pass. You're going to get 2 Power Networking After Dark passes. That's when we have our workshops, 9 o'clock and ending at 11 o'clock at night. But there are 8 concurrent workshops every night. You get 2 passes to that. That's $1,700 value. We're going to take $1,300 off of that and give it to you for $399 for listening to this podcast. So you're going to get a $1,300 discount. So we're going to limit this to the first 5 people that respond to this offer. Now, here's how you respond. You simply email me at gfraser, F-R-A-S, as in Sam, E-R, at frasernet.com. That's G Fraser, F-R-A-S as Sam, E-R, at frasernet.com. G Fraser at frasernet.com. That's G Fraser at frasernet.com. Email me, say I'm in. Make sure your name is on there and your cell phone number, and I'll get back with you personally. That's my office. Save yourself $1,300. It's good for only 3 people. First come, first serve.
That's awesome. Thank you for being so generous. I definitely want to thank you for your service to the community, as well as just to everything you've done during your lifetime over the years. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Just follow me on Facebook, George C. Fraser, on my fan page. Just follow me. I mentor people every day with wonderful information, wonderful quotes, and wonderful inspiration saying. So follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and or LinkedIn if that's where you are, or all 3. Okay? Les Brown and I wrote a new book called Mission Unstoppable, Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Blessing. That's out on Amazon, so you can pick that up. Mission Unstoppable, Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Blessing. Co-authored by Les Brown and George Fraser. The first time we've come together on a book. So you'll love it, and I really appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this podcast. You are a servant leader, and we need more servant leaders in our culture and in our community. So thank you, and just keep doing God's work, Michelle, and you are on purpose. I appreciate you.
You're welcome, and thank you as well. Thanks for networking with Michelle. You have a great day.